Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Dear humble meritorious devotees, today also we are going to listen to another exposition of our great teacher, Samma Sambuddha. Before we commence the sermon, as usual, let's take a few moments to pay our homage to our great teacher, who is the Blessed One, the Exalted One, and the fully enlightened one. We should pay our homage, we should pay our respect to our teacher, because for establishing this Sambuddha Sasana by revealing all the truths of the existence of the living beings, all the truths of this world, by revealing the Four Noble Truths and the causes for the never-ending cycle of the birth and the death, by teaching the dependent origination, the causal chain of suffering. He understood these, all the truths, by himself, by his own wisdom, without any external help. For this enlightenment, to understand these, all the truths of the existence of the beings, it took so many eons, what we cannot imagine even. He deployed so many effort throughout so many eons to reveal these truths, the real existence of these beings and the world. That is on behalf of all the living beings, including you and me. Because of that, we should pay our homage to our great teacher for establishing this sasana, which allows anyone like you and me to have the ultimate fruits of the Saddhamma, of the Sambuddha Sasana. So we should pay our homage to our great teacher first. Because of his effort throughout so many eons, because of the establishment of the Sambuddha Sasana, today the Saddhamma prevails as its pure level. This Saddhamma allows anyone who strives wisely, who strives effortfully, heedfully. This Saddhamma allows to achieve all the fruits of the Sambuddha Sasana even today, because it is protected in its pure level. Because of that, we should pay our homage to the Saddhamma, because it allows to achieve all the results of this Sambuddha Sasana, even though our great teacher, Samma Sambuddha, is not here as a living one. This Saddhamma was understood by so many beings from the Buddha's era, beginning from the Venerable Kondanya, and there are so many beings attained all the paths and the fruitions. They have attained the deathless because of this practice, because of this Sambuddha Sasana. We should pay our homage for those all the Maha Sangha, for all the Arya Maha Sangha, We call them Atthariya Puggala Mahasangha. And also we should pay our respect, pay our homage to all the Mahasangha who have worked hard, who have dedicated their lives, who have sacrificed their time, lives, protected this Saddhamma. Because of their effort, today we have this Saddhamma in its pure level, and even today anyone can understand the deep levels of the Saddhamma and can attain all the paths and the fruitions. Having paid the homage to Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, let's commence the today's sermon based on a sutta which is taken from the Itivuttaka Pali, the usual Pali canon book. The sutta is called the Andhakarana Sutta. This sutta reveals the causes for the blindness. As usual, we can see the usual statement at the beginning of the sutta, which reveals that this sutta is spoken by the Buddha himself. Uttang hetam bhagavata uttang arahata iti me sutta. This is said by the Blessed One. This is spoken by the Arahant, which is Samma Sambuddha, so I have heard. After this usual statement, we can see the first statement of this sutta. Tayomi bhikkave akusala vitakka andhakarana achakkukarana ajnanakarana panya nirodhika vigata pakkika anibbana samvattanika. My dear disciples, there are three unwholesome thinkings, unmeritorious thoughts which make someone blind, which produces the lack of vision, which produces the lack of the wisdom, and which lead to the cessation of the discernment, cessation of the wisdom, and which is in the side of the vexation, and which is not conducive to achieve the liberation. Katame tayo. What are those unmeritorious thinkings which makes the blindness and so on? Kama vitakko, vyapada vitakko, vihinsa vitakko. The first one is kama vitakka. That means the thinking about the sensual pleasure. The second one is vyapada vitakka, the thinking about the hatred. Third one is vihinsa vitakka, thinking about ill-treating others or harming others. These are the unwholesome thoughts which make someone blind, which produces the lack of vision, which produces the lack of wisdom, and lead to the cessation of the discernment, and which is in the side of the vexation, and which is not conducive for the liberation. We will go to the meanings or explanation of these terms later. Then we go to the second statement of the sutta. Tayome bhikkave kusala vitakka anandakarana achakkukarana jnanakarana panya buddhika avigata pakkika nibbana samvattanika. My dear disciples, there are three wholesome arguments or wholesome thinkings, meritorious thoughts which make someone not blind, which improve the vision, which produces the wisdom, and which lead to the and which foster the discernment or improve the wisdom, and which is the side of non-vexation and which conducive for the liberation. What are katame tayo? What are those three wholesome thoughts? The first one is nekkhamma vitakko, thinking about the renunciation. The second one is avyapada vitakko, thinking about the loving kindness. The third one is avihinsa vitakko, thinking about the compassion. So these are the three wholesome thoughts which produces the vision, which does not make someone blind, which produces the wisdom, which foster the discernment, which is not in the side of the vexation, and which conducive to the liberation. When we go to the explanation of these terms, the first term is, we can see the akusala vitakka. Akusala vitakka means the unwholesome thoughts which makes the negative results or the bad consequences, which makes the unblissful results. These unwholesome thoughts are arisen in someone's minds because of his unskillfulness or the incompetence in the meritorious deeds or the wholesome works. Because of these unwholesome thoughts, the first result is make someone blind. Make someone blind means, it does not mean that the usual vision or usual blindness. That is because of the thing, when someone is engaged with these unwholesome thinkings, unwholesome thoughts, he does not see the world as it is. He cannot see the real truths of the existence of his own existence or the existence of the world. That is why it is called the blindness. He cannot see the reality of this existence. He cannot understand that he is in the middle of the suffering. He is middle of the endless samsara, and what are the causes for this endless samsara, endless suffering. And he does not feel that he should do some efforts to get rid of the samsara or to come to an end of these sufferings. And he does not know how it should be done or what he can attain by those practices. That is called the blindness because of these unwholesome thoughts. The second result is achakkukarana. That means he is not having the eyes. What eyes? The eyes of wisdom, not the usual eyes. Because of these unwholesome thoughts, he does not have the eyes of wisdom. Like the same manner, he does not see, he does not have the capability or the ability to see the world through the eyes of wisdom. So he does not see the sufferings, he does not see the causes for the suffering, he does not see the cessation of the suffering or the path for the cessation of the suffering. The third one is Ajnanakarana. Ajnanakarana means, jnana means the wisdom, ajnana means the person who is not having the wisdom. We call them the foolish one. In Dhamma, we call them bala, a person who does not have the wisdom. The fourth one is panya nirodhika. These unwholesome thoughts leads a person cessation of the wisdom. Here, by the term panya, there are, in the commentary, there are three types of wisdom. The first one is kammasakata panya, second one is the jhana panya, third one is the vipassana panya. The first one, the kammasakata panya, means the ability to understand that all the things are based on the kamma or the causes, and all the vipakas, the results of these kammas. The birth or the sufferings, what we experience, all these things are based on the kamma. The understanding of this kamma and vipaka is called the kammasakata panya. The second one is jhana panya. When someone is doing the meditation effortfully, when he improves the tranquility, then as the result of this effort through the tranquility, he will experience the deep concentrations or the absorptions. That is called the jhana panya. The third one is vipassana panya. When someone is doing the vipassana meditation or the penetrative insight, as a result of this penetrative insight, he will achieve the insight wisdoms or insight knowledges. That is called the vipassana panya. When someone is engaged with the unwholesome thoughts, he will not achieve these three types of wisdoms or the knowledges. He does not have the kammasakata panya, jhana panya or vipassana panya. The fifth one is vigata bhikkhu. That is the side of the vexation. He is always in the side that is with the bad results, negative results. Always he is with the sufferings. That is called the vigata bhikkhu, the side of vexation. The sixth one of the bad results is anibbana samvattanika. That is, when someone is engaged with these unwholesome thoughts, these thoughts will not conducive, or these thoughts will not helpful to achieve the nibbana or the transcendental results, paths or fruitions. He will not be closer for end of these sufferings. He will be far away and going far away from the ultimate nibbana, end of the samsara or end of the sufferings. Those are the terms, the explanations of the terms under the unwholesome thoughts. When we are explaining about the three kinds of thoughts, the first one is kama vitakka. That means the thinking about the sensual pleasures. Because of the five senses, five sense faculties, we take five sensual objects, and because of these five sense faculties, the kama vitakka arises in the mind. We take the visual objects through the eye. We take the audible objects through the ears. Likewise, we take all these objects we call the arammana through these five sense faculties we call the pancha ayatana, and because of these experiences we have the kama vitakka or the craving, greediness or the desire to have these kind of objects, these kind of experiences again and again. That is called the kama vitakka, that thinking about all these sensual pleasures. And the second one is vyapada vitakka. That is, when someone is thinking about the anger or hatred, this is called Vyapada Vitakka. When someone does not like the situation or the object which he is taking through the 5 sense faculties, then the angry comes to his mind. That is called the Vyapada Vitakka. He is thinking about the hatred. He does not like the way the objects are. The third one is Vihinsa Vitakka. That means the thinking about harming the others or ill-treating the others because of these bad thoughts. That is called the Vihinsa Vitakka. When we consider the first two, the Kama Vitakka and the Vyapada Vitakka, they are arisen, they are born in the mind towards the Satta or living beings and the Sankhara or the formations or the fabrications which are done by the conditions. And the third one, the Vihinsa Vitakka, is not arisen towards the Sankhara, but it is arisen towards the living beings or the Satta. That is the difference between these first two thoughts, Kama Vitakka and Vyapada Vitakka, and the third one, Vihinsa Vitakka. Before I go to the explanation of the second statement of the Sutta, I would like to quote a statement from another Sutta, which is called the Magga Vibhanga Sutta, which is explaining about all the elements of the Eightfold Noble Path. In the Sutta, when it is explaining about the second element of the Eightfold Noble Path, which is the Samma Sankappa, it is explaining that Katamocha Bhikkave Samma Sankappo. What is this Samma Sankappa? Yoko Bhikkave Nekhamma Sankappo, Abhyapada Sankappo, Avihinsa Sankappo, Ayang Uchchati Bhikkave Samma Sankappo. In the Eightfold Noble Path, when we analyze the elements of the second part of the Eightfold Noble Path, there are 3 elements of the Samma Sankappa. They are called Nekhamma Sankappa, thinking about the renunciation; Abhyapada Sankappa, thinking about the loving kindness; Avihinsa Sankappa, thinking about the compassion. So, in this Sutta, in the Andhakarana Sutta, the second statement is all about these 3 wholesome thoughts. That is why I quoted this Magga Vibhanga Sutta's statement, because in the Eightfold Noble Path, we have to think about, we have to practice these wholesome thoughts to achieve the ultimate Nibbana. Because this Eightfold Noble Path is the way, a path for the achieving the ultimate paths and the fruitions. So when we go to the explanation of the second statement of the Andhakarana Sutta, it is, in the commentary it is said that the first 6 statements, that is called Anandakarana, Achakkukarana, Jnanakarana, Panya Buddhika, Abhigata Pakkika, and the Nibbana Samvattanika should be known as the opposite way of the explanation of the first statement. And when we explain about the 3 types of wholesome thoughts, meritorious thinkings, the first one is Nekhamma Vitakka. That is called the thinking about the renunciation. When someone is understanding about the real existence of the world, or when he has understanding about the real way how the world works, or how the birth or the death or this never-ending life cycle is happening again and again, what are the causes for this suffering, how he should get rid of the suffering or get rid of the samsara, and what is the path. So when he is thinking about these, then he is not attached to the sensual pleasures. He does not go behind the objects which makes him happy through the 5 sense faculties. Now he is thinking about a way to get rid of these, the physical things. What is the causes for the sensual pleasures? That thinking is called the nekkhamma vitanka. Now he is thinking about giving up these sensual pleasures, or the physical things, or the physical objects, which leads to the happy life as the other living beings. So this kind of thinking is very rare. Sometimes they are giving up all the physical things, their wealth, their the families, and they give up all these things and go to a forest or go to a meditation center, or lonely. He is practicing the Saddhamma. He is trying to understand this Saddhamma. Sometimes they ordain and trying to lead a simple life without these sensual pleasures. That kind of thinking is called the nekkhamma vitanka, thinking about the renunciation. In the first stages, the best way to develop this nekkhamma vitakka is the auspicious meditation. We call the asubha bhavana. This auspicious meditation is helpful to improve the nekkhamma vitakka, to reduce the attachment for the sensual pleasures, or attachment to the 5 sense faculties, or the objects which are taking through the 5 sense faculties. When someone is developing this auspicious meditations or the asubha bhavana, in the early stages of this auspicious meditation, it belongs to the kamavachara, that is the sensuous sphere. But when he develops to some extent, effortfully, this auspicious meditation, then he achieves some kind of concentrations, some kind of absorptions through this meditation based on the auspicious objects. At that level, at that stage, it belongs to the rupavachara sphere, rupavachara level. And when someone is developing this auspicious, when someone is developing this auspicious meditations again and again, with the vipassana, with the penetrative insight, then he can achieve the path of the transcendental stage. Then it belongs to the lokottara, or the transcendental sphere, lokottara level, at the stage of the rising of the magga, or the path. When we describe about the second wholesome thought, the most useful meditation or most useful way to develop this avyapada vitakka is the loving kindness meditation. We call the metta bhavana. When someone is developing this metta bhavana, the loving kindness meditation, in the early stages, it belongs to the kamavachara sphere, the sensuous sphere. When someone is developing again and again effortfully these loving kindness meditations, then in a stage he can achieve the deep concentrations or the absorption levels based on this loving kindness meditation. At that stage, this belongs to the rupavachara sphere, rupavachara level. When someone is developing the loving kindness meditations with the insight, penetrative insights, then in some levels he can achieve the transcendental results. At the time of the arising of the magga chitta, at that stage it belongs to the lokottara sphere or the transcendental sphere. When we explain about the third wholesome thought, when someone is improving, the most useful way is do the karuna bhavana, that's the meditation of compassion. When someone is doing this compassion meditation, in the early stages it belongs to the sensuous sphere, kamavachara stage, and when someone is practicing this karuna bhavana effortfully, then he will experience the absorptions or the deep concentrations based on this compassion object. At that stage it belongs to the rupavachara sphere, rupavachara level. Then someone is developing this meditation of compassion again and again with the penetrative insight. At the time of the arising of the magga chitta or the transcendental results, or the path, then at that stage it belongs to the lokottara level, transcendental sphere. That is how these three objects or the three paths are explained in the commentary. The thing is, these three wholesome objects or the wholesome thoughts are the elements of the second part of the Eightfold Noble Path, the elements of the Samma Sankappa. Because of that, it is very important to develop these wholesome thoughts, meritorious thinking, by using the appropriate meditation, by the tranquilities and the penetrative insight. If someone is trying to achieve the paths and the fruitions or the transcendental results or the ultimate Nibbana. At the end of the sutta, we can see a stanza or a verse describing the practice based on this wholesome thoughts. Tayo vitakke kusale vitakkaye, tayopana akusale nirakare. Save vitakkani vicharitani, sameti vuttiva rajan samunhata. Save vitakkupa samena chetasa, idevaso santipadan samajjaga. The rough meaning, the simple meaning of this verse is, there are three wholesome thoughts that should be improved. Tayo vitakke kusale vitakke. We should think about those wholesome thoughts again and again. Tayopana kusale nirakare. There are three unwholesome thoughts which should be rejected. And when someone is thinking about these wholesome thoughts, he can quench, he can settle down the mind without having the bad results, he can concentrate his mind as a simile given by the verse, when a rain comes in a dry season, the dust is all over the place. When one rain comes, it can quench, it can settle down all these dust particles, all these dust, and it can clear the environment or the air. Likewise, as a simile, when someone is improving, when someone develops these wholesome thoughts, he will be eligible, or he is capable to quench the unwholesome thoughts easily, and ideva so santipadam samajjaga, and he is also a person who is able to achieve the ultimate results in this sasana, in this practice. That is the rough meaning of this stanza, which is stated at the end of the sutta. After the explanation of the sutta statements as per the commentary, I would like to state a quotation or statement from another sutta. It is called the Dvedaha Vitakka Sutta. In this sutta, Buddha is advising his disciples when he was at Jetavanarama about his practice, how he act or how he negotiate with those kind of unwholesome thoughts, and how he developed the wholesome thoughts when he was striving effortfully to become Buddha as a Bodhisattva. He is giving the advices to his disciples how they should follow, how they should negotiate with those kind of unwholesome thoughts and the wholesome thoughts. He revealed to his disciples how he suppressed those kind of bad or unwholesome thoughts when he was the Bodhisattva, and how he improved the wholesome thoughts, and how he direct his mind to the samatha and vipassana, to the tranquilities and the insight. The Buddha is saying that he classified all the arguments, all the thoughts which are coming to his mind into two categories. First, he categorized all the thoughts into these two categories. The first category is all the kama vitakka, all the vyapada vitakka, all the vihinsa vitakka, he categorized as a one category. When some kama vitakka comes to the mind, the Bodhisattva knew that it belongs to this category. Likewise, all the other unwholesome thoughts he identified, and he negotiated with those unwholesome thoughts. Secondly, he categorized all the nekkhamma vitakka, abhyapada vitakka and avihinsa vitakka into the second category. When a wholesome thought comes to the mind, he identified this belongs to the second category, and he negotiated properly with those wholesome thoughts. And furthermore, the Buddha was explaining how he acted, how he negotiated when an unwholesome thought comes to his mind. He is explaining, when there is a kama vitakka comes to my mind, I was thinking a kama vitakka, that thinking about the sensual pleasures, that kind of unwholesome thought has arisen. So first he identified that a kind of unwholesome thought has arisen. So after identifying, then he is thinking about this, the results of this unwholesome thought. If I think about this thought, it will be a reason for the suffering for me, and it will be a reason for the suffering to the others as well, for the both sides, for me and for the others who is nearby. Because of these bad thoughts, because of these unwholesome thoughts, it will make the negative results or the bad results, bad consequences. Because of that, the kama vitakka disappears from the mind. It will no longer in the mind. So he was able to eliminate or eradicate this unwholesome kama vitakka from his mind. That is how he negotiated with the kama vitakka or the other unwholesome thoughts as a bodhisattva. Likewise, he was explaining how he was negotiating the other unwholesome thoughts in the same way. How he eradicated, how he removed when an unwholesome thought has arisen in his mind. Then the Buddha was explaining how he negotiate, how he act with the wholesome thoughts. When a wholesome thought like nekkhamma vitakka, first he identifies that there is a wholesome thought has arisen, a nekkhamma vitakka, thinking about the renunciation has arisen. So it is a reason to make good results for me. It is not a reason for the suffering. It makes a good results for me as well as the others who is nearby. So for the both sides, these wholesome thoughts make good results. So it is important to negotiate, important to think about these kind of wholesome thoughts. He does not see any bad consequences if he thinks about these kind of wholesome thoughts throughout the night, throughout the day. It always improves the happiness of the mind. But if I think about these wholesome thoughts again and again, my mind gets tired. My body is going to faint because I was thinking again and again for a long time, for a long period about these wholesome thoughts. It leads to the decrease of the concentration of the mind. So I identifies that and I tries to improve the concentration by not thinking about the wholesome thoughts for a long period. Then he was explaining how he acted as a bodhisattva to achieve the concentrations, achieve the results of the tranquility, how he achieved the absorptions, and how he achieved the results of the insight knowledges and the wisdoms, and how he achieved the fully enlightenment or the sabbanyuta jnana. This is very helpful for us as well to identify how we should follow, how we should negotiate with these unwholesome thoughts and wholesome thoughts when they are coming to our minds. How we should eradicate these unwholesome thoughts and how we should improve and to which level we should improve the wholesome thoughts. It is not good improve or thinking about the wholesome thoughts again and again for a longer period, if someone is trying to achieve the concentrations or the other absorptions. Sometimes someone can think, someone can feel that it is very difficult to negotiate with these unwholesome thoughts, because when anger comes to the mind, or the craving or the greediness comes to the mind, or the ill-treating the others or the harming others, those kind of thoughts, when they are coming to the mind, when they are arising in the mind, somewhat difficult to eradicate them. It is very difficult to control them. Someone can feel like that. But Buddha is giving some advices how to negotiate, how to remove them, how to eradicate these unwholesome thoughts like Kama Vitakka, Vyapada Vitakka, Vihinsa Vitakka, step by step. Some steps are suitable for some person, or if it is not suitable, there are few more steps were revealed by the Buddha, and he was given as the advices for his disciples like you and me. These advices we can see in a sutta called Vitakka Sutta, and it is a very important sutta. When someone is trying to control his mind, when someone is trying to negotiate effortfully with this bad, unwholesome thought, when he is trying to eradicate those unwholesome thoughts from his mind, who is in the practice, who is trying to develop his mind, who is trying to concentration, who is trying to develop the concentration. As per the sutta, the Vitakka Sutta, Buddha is giving 5 steps how we should negotiate, how we should act when a bad or unwholesome thought arises, when bad unwholesome thought is arisen in the mind. The first step is, that is called the Anya Nimitta. We should think about a different kind of object. Actually, we should think about the wholesome object, wholesome thing, or what kind of a wholesome act what we have done in the past or recent past, or the even in today. When an unwholesome thought comes to the mind, this Anya Nimitta step, Anya Nimitta strategy should be used by thinking a different, sometimes a totally different object that is in the wholesome side, that is in the Kusala side. We should think about that, and with the time, someone can feel that the unwholesome thought is vanished, or it is gone from the mind. He was eligible to remove this unwholesome thought easily by the first step of the Vitakka Sutta, by the first step out of the 5. In the sutta, there is a simile is given. When a big nail is inserted to the wood, when someone needs to remove that big nail, we can use a small nail to remove that big nail from the wood. Likewise, when we have a bad thought in our mind, if we want to remove that unwholesome thought from our mind, we can use even a very small act, unwholesome act, meritorious deed what we have done in the past, or any kind of wholesome object, we can use to remove that unwholesome thought. That is the first step, first strategy what we can use to eradicate these bad thoughts. The second strategy is Adinava Nimitta. The meaning is thinking about the bad consequences of the thought, of the unwholesome thought. The simile is given when a younger person who likes to wear a good, colorful clothes or some jewelries. When someone puts something, a dead body of a snake or a dead body of a dog around his neck, then he think about the bad results of this dead body which is hanging on around his neck, and immediately he is trying to remove that dead body from his neck, because he knows this will give him the bad consequences, bad results. It smells bad and the others rejects him because of the smell and that auspicious object. Likewise, when we have a unwholesome thought in our mind, we can think about the results. If I think about this unwholesome thought again and again, these kind of bad results, negative consequences, I have to experience in future. Because of those bad consequences, bad results, it is not good to think about this thought again and again. By thinking about those adinava, these bad thoughts will be vanished, will be eradicated from the mind easily. That is the second strategy what we can apply on these unwholesome thoughts. If someone is not capable to remove the bad thoughts from the mind by these first and second steps, there is another step, the third step, that is called asati amanasikara nimitta. That means we just not thinking about that bad thought. The simile is given in the sutta. When you are having a walk in the road, if you see a bad object, let's take a dead body of a dog. If you see something like that which is decayed to some extent, it smells bad, then you close your eyes, or you look another side, or you close your nose because of the bad smell. Likewise, when we have a bad thought, unwholesome thought in our mind, we just try to not to think about that thought. We are not going to think about that. With the time, automatically it will be removed from the mind. Sometimes a person will be capable to remove these kind of bad thoughts by this third step. If someone cannot remove the bad thoughts from his mind by these three steps, which is called anya nimitta and the adinava nimitta, asati amanasikara nimitta, there is a fourth strategy, which is called vitakka moola bheda nimitta. That is, we analyze the causes for the bad thought, the reasons why it comes to my mind. The simile is, when someone is running fast without any reason, then he thinks about his action, why I am running so fast. If he find out that there is no reason to run fast, then he lower the speed of his running. Then he again thinks about why I am running in this speed, even in a slower speed, why I should run. If he finds out there is no reason to run, then he stops the running and he starts to walk. Then he again thinks about the reason, why should I walk? Is there any reason to walk for me? If he finds out there is no reason to walk, then he stands, then he stops the walking. Then he is again thinking about the reason, whether he has any reason to stand still. If he finds out there is no reason to stand still, then he sit on the ground. Then if he finds out there is no reason to sit on the ground, then he lays down. Likewise, as a simile, when someone has a bad, unwholesome thought, then he tries to identify what are the causes for this bad thought, why it comes to my mind, is there any reason? Then he thinks about the reasons in the backward by step, and sometimes he can find the rough origin, the reasons, the first reason for this bad thought. By thinking about these causes backward, step by step, with the time, that akusala vitakka, unwholesome thought, will be eradicated, will be removed from the mind. That is the fourth strategy, which is called vitakka mula beda nimitta. If someone is not capable to remove the unwholesome thought from his mind by these four strategies, anya nimitta, adinava nimitta, asatya amaniskara nimitta, and the vitakka mula beda nimitta, there is a fifth strategy as the last step to practice. If someone is not capable to remove the strategy, then Buddha is giving an advice that abhiniggana nimitta. That is, the meaning is suppress the thought forcefully, controls the unwholesome thought with your strength of the mind. Because by suppressing your jaws strongly, you try to control or remove that bad unwholesome thought. That is called abhiniggana nimitta. There is a simile for that fifth strategy. When a stronger man wants to control a weaker man, he is suppressing the weaker man's hands, legs, and the heads on the ground, and he is capable to control the weaker man because he is stronger enough to do that. Likewise, when you have unwholesome thought in your mind, all the four strategies what I have mentioned previously, if they are not helpful to remove these bad thoughts, you have to keep your jaws tightly, strongly, with strength, and try to suppress that bad unwholesome thought and try to remove by your strength of the mind. That is only when the previous strategies are not helpful to remove the bad thought. So this Vitakka Santana Sutta is very important when someone is very effortfully practicing to remove the bad thoughts from the mind, and if he doesn't have any strategies, steps to do that. So with these facts, now I am going to end up today's sermon. Today we have learned about the unwholesome thoughts which makes the bad results, bad consequences, and the wholesome results, wholesome thoughts which gives the good results, and the Buddha is advising to develop those kind of wholesome thoughts, to develop to practice in this Eightfold Noble Path, and to achieve all the paths and the fruitions through the tranquility and the penetrative insight. So we are going to end up the sermon today, and I would like to wish all the listeners who have joined to this sermon, all these meritorious deeds what we have done during this sermon. We have paid homage to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. We have recalled their qualities, and by the listening to the Dhamma, by the preaching of the Dhamma, all these kind of meritorious deeds may cause for you to have blissful results in this life and to achieve desirable lives until you achieve the ultimate Nibbana. And all these meritorious deeds may cause to achieve all your expecting results, all the path, fruitions and ultimate Nibbana. And I would like to send all the meritorious deeds to the parents and all the teachers who have helped us, who have ordained us, who have taught the Dhamma. May all these merits will be a cause for them to achieve their expecting paths and fruitions and achieve the ultimate Nibbana. And we should send these all merits to our friends, to our relatives who have passed away and who are willing to receive these kind of merits. We should send all the merits to them. May all these merits cause for them to achieve blissful lives and to achieve all the paths and fruitions, the ultimate Nibbana. And we should send these merits to all the Devas, all the Brahmas who are expecting these kind of merits. And may these all the meritorious deeds will be a cause for them to achieve their blissful results and they achieve ultimate Nibbana. So again, I would like to wish all of you all these merits will be a result to have a blissful result, and you should try to practice this Saddhamma and achieve the penetrative insights, the tranquilities, absorption in this life, and try to achieve all the paths and fruitions and come to an end of this samsara within this Buddha Sasana. And I would like to give the blessings of the triple gems, Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, Theruvan Saranai.